Hello and welcome to this new episode of The Lounge. This is episode 2 of 2026 and we have a rich panel today with us. Hi guys, I think you have all been on The Lounge before except Aiden. So Aiden, welcome to The Lounge for your first time.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. I will let you introduce yourself, but guys, Aiden is super active on YouTube. He has a great course for beginners. He's posting super interesting content. So definitely recommend to check out Edin channel. Edin, do you wanna add something else? Of course, you're a super strong
Yeah,
competitor, but
I can introduce myself. I guess I started this sport 2 years ago, almost exactly. So my first round was 2024. Watched all of Dim's videos. I'm sure everyone else did, and kind of learned a lot from those. So my style has definitely adapted as the years have gone on. And yeah, I started doing walkthroughs as well. And I just put out a kind of beginner course. I wanted to get that done before the start of this season because I remember when I started, there was Dim and Giles's course that was a boot camp, and that helped me massively. And I thought, I'd learned a few more bits since then, so I wanted to just share my knowledge as well. So got that out just in time, and yeah, I'm happy with that. You can find it at my channel. I think the channel's called Excel and Finance, so you'll be able to find it there.
yeah, at some point we can put the link in the chat so people can see that. And wow, guys, we had the start of the season this week was a great start. We had Battle One Road to Las Vegas, and we had Battle One also for Brazil local chapter. And with us, we have Tim, who actually produced this beautiful case for Road to Las Vegas #1. Dim, I will leave to you the honor to walk us through the case creation, the idea behind it. Yeah, what's your perspective on this case? And also, I'm curious to know whether the performance of the field met the expectations you had when you wrote the case. So I will leave it to you for a bit of intro.
All right. Thank you. So the original seed of the idea of this case was literally a throwaway comment somebody made like 14 months ago. So in the finals in Vegas in 2024, Jeremy Freelove said something after the finals about, he had won one of the quarterfinals. He said, I beat Michael in the quarterfinal. Does that mean that I'm like kind of the world champion or something like that? And, I'm a mathematician, so it immediately got me thinking about transitivity. Like, okay, so Jeremy beat Michael, so then who beat Jeremy? Who, how many degrees of separation is everybody away from being the world champion, and so on. And so, yeah, I loosely had in mind, like ever since then, that I wanted to write a case. It was going to just be called transitivity, and it was going to be all about, like, as a sort of variation on, because it's a lot of it, or potentially is a lot of the same logic as like a maze case. Like there's a connection between this person and this person through this round or through that round, but in a very different way from any kind of maze you've ever seen. So that was Ashley, woo! That was the original idea. But then I'm terrible at actually writing any case unless I have to. So that idea has been bouncing around in my head for, like I said, more than a year. And then Emma's messaged me at the end of December saying, hey, thought it would be fun if, as the world champion, you write the first round case. And I said, sure, it sounds like fun. When do you need it by? He said, this date. And whatever, that was... Well, that was like 2 weeks away, but then I didn't get to even look at it until my kids went back to school. So like, I ended up having sort of a few days and, getting it done in like 2 after 14 months of like, I should think about this at some point. Yeah, there's definitely an idea there, blah, blah, blah. But then as I started, trying to flesh it out, originally it was going to be just like, it was all going to be about, round data. And then it was, like, I don't know, a head-to-head record for this person versus that person, and how many, what's this person's record and stats and blah blah blah. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, all right, maybe we could put some other stuff in here. And it gradually grew into, okay, what if it could be a sort of a meta case about the process of training for the competition. and that's kind of what turned into the final version. In terms of my expectation of difficulty, the honest answer is I wasn't that sure. I kind of knew that what I sent off to Emils was too hard. And the two hardest parts of that we took out, which were my original, like, the narrative was like, here's the foundations, then here's the big three, and then here's the, don't forget, you never know what's going to happen. And my original big three was like text, maps, and mazes. But we decided the maze question was too convoluted to be, or just too big to be a standalone. And my original version of the bonus, so the wolves chasing the monkey, the bonus for that was, instead of everything being in a kind of 100 by 100 or so grid, it was, wolves and monkeys spread out over the entire grid. My original bonus version of that was like, forget about the bounds of the grid. I think they were on a 10 million by 10 million grid, with like 5-letter column codes and that kind of thing. And we also decided that one was probably too hard. Well, it is fun to to figure out if you can do it in an efficient way, because I think the original version, it takes like about 500,000 steps before the wolves catch the monkey. So if you do it, one step at a time, you'll be going for a long time. But there are, sneaky shortcuts. Anyway, that's like too much to ask, and so we didn't ask that. But then in my, like Emils, once he tested the case, said, yeah, I think this bit and this bit probably too hard. We should take them out. And so then I was like, okay, I need a different level that like fits this narrative of, the big three, the kind of the skills that you probably won't be asked for in work, but you'll, be asked for in esports, and that, feels about the right level of difficulty. And so I thought, okay, maybe something about array manipulation, and then sort of gradually dreamed up. It started off with like, maybe there could be like spirals and I don't know, diagonals, zigzags, and eventually it was like, oh, that's all too complicated. Let's just do. Turned out even that is pretty hard. But that question probably got the least reflection because it was written quickly at the 11th hour. And
a questionable medium level.
That was straight up a mistake. I think I had like just copied the block from the level above it and then changed things. I never changed because I definitely did not intentionally rate that medium. But yes, I realized people did not appreciate that rating, or the easy rating on level 2 for that matter. I do think level 2 was easy if you knew what was being asked, but perhaps not as clear as it might have been about what was being asked. I think so. Ashley, as my co-host, played the case a couple of days before the live stream, but like the final version with the case animation, like under kind of test conditions. And she sent me an email after she tested it, saying something like, "Oh my God, what the hell? I think I blacked out. You're so evil," or something like that. And at that point, I was like, "Oh God, have we overdone it? This is not good." And then, like, about a day later, she sent another email saying, "This was like after looking through my solution things. You're like, I think this might be one of my favorite cases." So I've definitely had a lot of both reactions. I've had a lot of people tell me, what the hell, that was way too hard. And I've had a lot of people tell me, I love that. It was so wacky and different and unexpected. Both might be true. It probably was not the best choice for round 1. If I ran the circus, Peter Charles would write every round 1 case because his cases are friendly and encouraging, and mine are not.
Except the seamless fast or whatever it was called.
Okay. Well, let's say he has a much better record of writing friendly and approachable cases than I do.
Agree. Yeah. To be fair, level 2 was easy. Except that, at least for me, was very weird to see actually the numbers in the games. So I was a bit confused by that because I was going back and forth from the numbers to actually carve out the letters from the riddle to the numbers in the actual games you need to solve, and it was like, what? So I had to read again, and it was probably the worst investment in terms of ROI for points divided by time spent. So, but still,
Yeah,
I think it was
about it afterwards.
really easy.
I think if I had my time again, I would have I would have added like a visual example of like, here's the first sentence. Here's the string of numbers underneath. Here's like, each letter in each word numbered within the word. Here's an arrow pointing from, the first one to that one and the second one to that one and this 7 to that 7. And I don't know. Hindsight is 2020.
I mean, I figured the instructions out pretty fast, but then had like issues with the instructions solving the level because which is like different kind of issue and not like case based, because I was just not realizing that the example that is looking for like really telling you the example and how to calculate like the final answers, and I was looking at like all of the middle numbers and not just like the middle number. So that was my issues. But yeah, I agree that that it took a long time, and I also skipped level 2 then for part and solved 3 and 4, and then it came back in the end.
It's funny. I read that, and I'll be honest, my immediate thought was like, but he could have just looked at the example. It clearly shows one digit. I'm like, really? On the question, joking about how nobody reads the question, and me as the person who least reads the question ever, I'm going to give him crap for that? Yeah, no.
I know there's somebody out there who didn't bother to do the riddle and just tried to look at the example, and you knew it had to do with multiplication, and I wanted to do that at first.
I heard a couple of people manage to get it out that way, just by like, all right, what's going on here? How do I compare this like example to this? Oh, look, they're in the middle. Yeah, at least 2 people got the level out without.
It's almost solving a foreign language case at that point, where you just assume from the example and reconstruct it.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, someone asked, had anybody tried to hack the bonuses because the bonuses were encrypted? In my mind, that was like 100% a valid strategy. Like, probably not a good strategy because it would have been more work than just solving the levels to get them. But I thought about it as like, I don't want to make it like trivial that you just, subtract 1 from each letter or something and it falls out. But if someone is going to go in there and like study how it's encrypted and hack that, go for it. Cool.
Yeah, if you do that in 30 minutes and actually score 5 times 50 points, I'm not sure it's it's a good idea, but whatever.
Did you do a Visionaire cipher on any of them?
Yeah, that one was sort of Visionaire-esque.
Right.
I think I just like added Visionaire, you cycle and you just take the letter numbers. I think I just added the Unicode numbers of like the encryption word and the plain text, and then turned that back into unicars. So like it is hackable, not very easily, but it's definitely doable.
Not for us mere mortals, I'm sure.
Something I had a look was for level 7 at like, because all of the like bonus instructions only looked like at specific levels. So I thought maybe I can just solve them manually and then get like the bonus code out of this. So you don't need to solve like everything, but you can solve a certain amount manually and then get like out of the bonus. But it didn't
Did you
work.
do that?
No, I thought about it, but I hadn't the time left in the competition to actually do it.
You are the top scorer for people on the stream, right? For I think for sure Brazilian case was an amazing run, and I think also for Road to Las Vegas one, Benny.
I was 16, and I think that's as long as Tim didn't compete because he wrote the case.
I think, Aiden, do you have like that pretty Power BI statistics?
Yeah,
I literally
I do.
saw your video before.
Yeah, I made this in about 5 minutes, so it's
Yeah, we're
Hopefully
not
it doesn't
judging.
break. So yeah, this was just me kind of analyzing the cases quickly. So this is from 2026. Obviously, we've only had round 1. And the number at the bottom here is the average score for the case. So when I finished the case last week, I thought it was really hard. And when I came here, I was like, oh, actually, Kansas was harder and Harry's more evil. So I take it back. I don't think it was too hard. So if I just delete these out for a second, we can also have a look at some of the other years, which might be interesting. And then I just added player count over here to see kind of how well we've done as a community on attracting new people. And it looks like the biggest jump was to 2024. This is when I started. Moderate jump here, and then a nice jump here, which is really nice. And to see it by every round, this is kind of 2023. The last jump from the final round of 25, we had 251 people up to 352. So it's 100 more people since round 9, 25, which is really nice to see.
Is this looking at people that have like not 0 score or that are ranked on the platform?
Yes, this is eliminating all of 0 scores. Okay. So assuming,
right?
Yeah, because they may not have turned up for the round. This is only people that turned up for the round.
Because
I know there was 400 or so with ticket holders for the whole season.
Yeah.
What are the numbers for the bar chart on the left?
Like this is just the scores per country. So
on the left. Sorry,
this is on the left.
Yeah, this one, the big one.
This is the number of players at the top.
Right,
and
the bar is the average.
387 and 352.
That's the average score for the round over all of the participants. So the average final result was 387. I think the max was Daisuke with what did he get? He got
990 something.
I can't actually see there, but yeah, like I said, this was made quickly. So 387 is the average score for the round.
But I think we generally see that the first cases are definitely not easy compared to especially the rest of the season.
No, I mean, if we go to other rounds, there was round 2 for 25. I think the scores are, definitely.
So the first case is one of the hardest of the entire season.
It looks like it. It'd be nice to probably have some different.
I mean, I remember Whack-A-Mole. It was my first ever case. So.
yeah. That.
And I solved 2 cases, and then saw in the live stream every 2 levels or 2.5 levels, I think. And then I saw in the live stream nobody else is solving, so I was pretty happy.
Yeah, that was not a high-scoring case.
I think I had 300 points, and it was my first ever case, and I finished 14th or something like that. So.
Yeah, Whack-A-Mole is definitely the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, Kobe says the bonus unlock should be a more common case feature. I liked it as well a lot, to be honest, because, it sets bonus questions as something you can get on top of the normal case and probably avoids the rush to the bonus question, especially in rounds where you have the bonus lockout. So yeah, I like it. I'm curious to know what you think about it, actually.
Well, I like it. I put it in.
It's a good sanity check to make sure you've completed the level appropriately. You don't get those live feedback, but at the very least with this case, you immediately knew once the bonus was decrypted that you did the level correctly.
I don't mind it for these rounds, but I think in knockout rounds or, well, any round where bonuses are time limited or number of people limited, then it's a bit risky because you have to finish the whole question, which is less dramatic. I think it's more dramatic when people are fighting for bonuses and then they go out and they can do those before getting the question sometimes. It's quite nice.
I mean, it might be like the middle way would be like, especially also for live battles, the best way. So you could either go for the levels and then have like a shot at later bonuses earlier, because some are encrypted and some are not. Or you go for the bonuses that are not locked as like a different strategy immediately, and then maybe have a more difficulty approach to the later bonuses.
I mean, just a slightly bigger picture thought. I'm not actually, the more I think about it, I'm not a fan of bonus lockouts at all. Case in point being the MECC teams final was not literally, but like almost literally decided in the first 45 seconds because only 2 out of 4 teams could score each bonus. And like Arizona got the first 3 bonuses out in the first 45 seconds, but were the third team to get each one of them, got none of them, had a ceiling, and like they finished the case with 10 minutes to spare, and there was nothing they could do.
That was it. Yeah.
Just like sit and hope you don't get caught. I mean, they did, which is fine. I don't begrudge Inska. They did great, but like the idea that you've just kind of done all you can, you got a bunch of time left, and there's nothing you can do. That I don't like that. It was kind of the case in Bushland Adventures as well. Like multiple people left the stage without full points because it was like, well, I'm locked out of everything else, so what else am I going to do? Which,
yeah, but this, especially for the MACC teams finals, was also the issue that I think all bonuses were unrelated to levels. So actually, as you got like sheet with like the instructions, you could actually or should actually make the strategy to go only for bonus because you do not have to solve a single level for it. So, yeah.
Yeah, but like if you can solve the bonus, you know, I mean, there have definitely been cases in the past where you could basically solve the bonus in your head without touching Excel, and then just as soon as time started, just type it in and hit enter. I mean, that in my mind, that's even worse.
Yeah, that is worse.
I'm not a fan of that at all.
There's also something really satisfying, and obviously it's only happened this year, where you see a full score on stage, and with the bonus lockouts, that becomes less likely. So when you did a few full scores, that was a satisfying and good like moment for the crowd. You're going to see those less often if you always have bonus lockouts.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I hope. Like I remember Jade saying to me, like this was like this is I guess the morning of day 3, like after the quarterfinal. Like that, it was great television when you like finished early and walked off. Like I think this has always been like a fear for Andrew, because he and I have had this debate many times over the years that like he's always been of the view like the finals case needs to be hard. Like, you know, I'd hate to be in a situation where like multiple people finish it. And I always thought it would look great if somebody finished it, or I mean, unlikely, but if multiple people finished it, whatever. Yeah, I feel like I've been vindicated because it made good television. See, so my hope is that they'll not feel obliged to make the finals absurdly hard in the future.
Like, for example, writing the answer to close.
I love Ashley's idea.
Yeah, by the way, you're getting some support for level 2 team by Gabi from Brazil.
Yes. Thank you.
Tim, I noticed that the bonus levels were all the same amount of points. Was that intentional, or
yes,
did you want to scale based off of difficulty?
I deliberately went for a relatively flat point structure. So like if you look at some of the cases recently, like level 1 is worth like 1, 2, 3 points each. And like the top level is worth, I don't know, like 15, sometimes even more. Like I think the last level of just Wild About Harry was like each one was worth 20. And that might be a more accurate way to like reflect the difficulty, but I think there's some value in not accentuating the difference between the lowest and the highest players more than you need to. Like I think it's kind of depressing if you get 2-3 levels out and you kind of feel, oh, I did okay there, and then that's like, congratulations, you got 230 points, and the winning score was 1200. It just is kind of demoralizing. So yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of having a relatively flat point progression.
Yeah, I think it was a nice one. So I would also propose to have like this standard setup for the bonus questions, conscious that it will require some extra work and also a more robust encryption, because people can come up with some way of actually decoding the codes. So I don't know.
I think there's the encryption could be pretty flexible in Vegas. I had to be like quite careful because all the cases are supposed to work on XL 2010 and back. So like if I was writing it for modern Excel users, I could have made the encryption be, one black box lambda, and it's just, encrypt this, decrypt that. But it all had to be like single cell. Hence, if you actually look at the bonus support sheet, it's like old school.
Yeah, that's very cool. We also had Brazil #1 starting. I think it was a great success. Probably a number of competitors equal, if not higher, to the global round, which is an amazing result. So congrats to Klinsmann and Lander. It's just top-notch things, including the platforms. So yeah, really, really amazing. And Benny, you won the round. Actually, you crushed it completely. So congrats.
23 minutes.
I'm not sure how you did it, to be honest, because I'm still wondering that third elimination rule, which just doesn't click for me. So
he's just that much of a football fan that he remembered all the results. He didn't actually calculate anything.
I think these were hypothetical future results, so that wouldn't have helped.
Yes, and the fact was also they had like the group stage, but the group stage draw was already when we were in Burning Clippy in Utah on Angel's Landing, so I had no signal to get like the draw results. But I know the draw results, especially the Austrian group for the World Cup, because it's the first time Austria is in the World Cup since 20 years. So I literally knew the World Cup groups, and for one moment when I looked at the case, I realized, that my group calculation is wrong because Austria is in the wrong group. And then I literally got back and checked, no, it's just a different group from real life. And also, when finishing like the last bonus question, I looked, Switzerland is the answer. Switzerland isn't that good at football, so we needed to check again. But those were two small like hiccups based on knowing football, and on the other side, of course, the big advantage knowing how the third elimination or the third group calculation works. And also like knowing it's 3 points for a win, it's goal difference and what matters. So this definitely played a role. And I mean, it's like for Lorenzo maybe, or for the viewers that still don't understand it. So you take like the group stages, the groups, and you have the first and the second place going through immediately. And then you look at the third place team in each group, and you rank the third place teams based on points, wins, goal difference, and so on. And then you take the team with the third place team with the most points goes through until a team doesn't go through. So it's like the 8 teams with the most points. And in this specific case, it was 8 teams had 4 points, and all other teams had 3 or less points. So these 8 teams went through to the next round, and then you had like the 8 groups where the teams went through, and you had this table where you could look it up. So this was how you find out who plays against who in the knockout rounds.
Yeah, I understood that. The thing I don't understand is why the hell do I have letters here like A, B, C, D, F, G, D? If this third place table actually gives me the team going to the. That's the thing I'm not understanding.
If you look at 1E in the third place team overview, 1E, you will see all of those teams are like C, D, B, A, and never ever will this be Group E, which is
understood.
So it's like the possible. This was also something I had like a few. I immediately thought, oh my god, I hope they have Leander put in a table and we don't have to calculate it based on like what teams go through, because I know this is possible. But luckily we had like this table.
Luckily there was just a 495 scenario table.
Luckily.
Simples.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to talk a lot about the FIFA World Cup, but I hate this. I hate this format. It's the first time this year that they have this format, and we know it from the European Championships already. And I simply hate this format. So.
Yeah, guys, I wanted to talk about a very interesting topic, which is LAMBDA ban, but conscious that we might open the Pandora box before doing that. and and since we are talking about local chapters, would be good to hear from Benny and Julian about the DACH chapter, which has been confirmed for 2026. So Brazil started. We had the UK announcement last time in the launch. Guys, what can you tell us about the DACH chapter for 2026?
Yeah, I mean, it's every launch needs to be a big announcement. So I thought, let's use the DACH announcement. I mean, we made it already yesterday, but to quickly sum up everything, we are going to have our next season. It's going to be 3 online rounds on April 11, the first one, then the second one of June 13th, and the third one on July 25th. So I already looked at the calendar and saw it like in April we have 3 weeks back to back, UK, Brazil, DACH. So that's looking to be great weekends back to back. And then we are going to have a final September 12th. And in addition to that, we are going to have, in combination with at least the UK chapter, but I think maybe a few others as well, a qualification battle or a case specific team towards the International Women's Day on March 7. So this will be like our first battle. And in fact, the best woman of the DACH region that will compete in this 24-hour open case competes there will also qualify for the final. So to raise a representative among the women's in Excel. I mean, we had quite a few women's last year at the finals, but we want to celebrate this with this first qualification battle. And and then a big in-person final somewhere in Germany. We don't announce it yet, but we are in talks with a few different venues.
Very mysterious.
Yeah, it's nothing confirmed. Yes.
So you have a date combined with the UK chapter. So are we going to see like a joint event as we did last year, or?
Yeah, it's June 13th. So our second battle, I think it's UK's third battle. I think so. So yeah, this will be a joint battle with the UK, with similar-ish to last year. So we are going to have a case that will be a bit different, and for everybody besides the world champion, the highest score will count probably, and for the world champion, the lowest score will count.
Is that a simultaneous one, or the same day but different?
No, it will be simultaneously. So it will be.
Because I wanted to play both of them, but I would need to choose the UK one for obvious reasons.
I mean, you can play both. You can ask them how it is to play 2 cases.
I mean, I don't know. Last year it was, we were in the land of Flexi Quiz, where it was like the first email came out 15 minutes before. So like I had almost 45 minutes to do them. Yeah, I don't know. It was, even at that, it was tight. I was not displeased with how that panned out.
And Benny, do you know if you're gonna have a second edition of the DACH Open, which, by the way, I had a lot of fun joining last year, so I'm hoping to join again this year?
Yes, but maybe because another topic is that we more or less extended our organizational team. So Julian, who is also here, but also Shaw and Laura Pesci, is Microsoft MVP, are joining the organizational team of MEWC DACH. So maybe Julian, he wants to say something about the DACH chapter as well, and maybe also the international finals.
Yes. So we're planning, of course, for an international competition or international open competition as well for our finals. We hope to also have a few new faces in Europe or in Germany this year. I think someone told us that he also wanted to come, but let's see how this will turn out. And yeah, I think it will be a great competition, and both or the venues we currently have an eye on will be also great. So nothing confirmed yet, but it will be better than last year, and even last year was great. And also with the recognition of our chapter and the sign up numbers as so far are also great. So bigger, better DACH.
Yeah, for what it's worth, you already have my money for the online battles, but shut up and also take my money for the DACH Open. So totally looking forward to it, honestly.
Yeah,
I've
got my ticket too.
I've seen you're creating this LAMBDA, what is it, monthly or
LAMBDA of the
weekly?
month.
Right. I had some similar idea in mind for my YouTube channel, so you might see something similar coming in my channel. But yeah, it's a nice one. And it's also a very nice transition to the next topic of the discussion. No, sorry, guys, unless you want to say something else for the Dutch chapter.
Two cents maybe. First of all, this LAMBDA of the month, what you're currently showing, you saw it. That LinkedIn translation is great of the German Excel functions to the English ones.
What's the Anzahl?
It's
HL2?
count A. It's count A,
Right.
which is in German count 2.
And I'm assuming Zelle is cell.
Yes. Was on T? I have no idea. I think it's omitted, but I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's omitted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is on like the DACH channel. It's all from Julian, so it's on the DACH channel in German and with like the German LAMBDA file. But Julian also puts on his YouTube channel, Excel with Excel, the English version of the LAMBDAs. So if you're interested in seeing it and you own the English or use English Excel, you can watch on Julian's. And the other thing added to Julian and Lorenzo's comment about the DACH final, I have from at least 4 people, including Lorenzo already, a very positive sign of coming towards Germany for the in-person final. And I'm hoping for more, but 4 is already a great number. So looking forward.
I mean, I had a great time last year, both as a spectator of the DACH finals and also taking part in the DACH Open. I'm hoping we might get something more than just one battle if you can manage to organize that. But I appreciate it. It's a hell of a work, so I will be fine with just one. But just to give you some feedback, and no, for sure I will come. So.
I mean, yes, the DACH final system will be also different this year because we are not having a semi-final and a final this year, but we are going more or less like the UK finals way with 3 cases. And only the best 2 cases are going to count. So something similar. So maybe we just use like the international ones, no specific case, but use them for the regular DACH case. But we still need to figure this out. But this is also heavily depending on the venue and like the circumstances we have wherever we are going to as the final.
Understood. Yeah, you might have both internationals
At
and
least
locals
all our
competing
cases
on the same case.
are also translated into English.
Yes, that's also important to know. And if you want to sign up, you can sign up on our homepage, excel-esports.de. The Germans in our team convinced me to finally use the .de address, even though I'm Austrian. But yeah, you can sign up. And for this week, if you sign up for the international competition, you can save 10 euros if you use the code earlybird. So 30 euros instead of 40.
Yeah, if you want to put the link in the chat, feel free so people can actually see it. And yeah, hope you will get a lot of participants as Brazil did. Hopefully the free sign up for locals will help with that, and I hope it will be a great season, as was the last one. All right, guys, LAMBDA ban. So just to give a bit
my hard hat.
Just to give a bit of context, I think it was a never-ending discussion, but the new trigger was from your viral video, Dim, in which some comments said, okay, but if you can use LAMBDAs, then what's the point of this competition? I mean, it's so easy, which we all know it's not the case, but still we also need to understand that perception is reality at some level. So I think most of us will be on the side of pro LAMBDAs, with some, let's say, enthusiasts I'm looking to Julian at this point. But I also see Grant saying no lambdas. So Grant, do you want to kick off the conversation with the reasons you think why we should ban lambdas?
Yeah, I think I want to just start off by saying I don't think they should be entirely banned. I think that there's a very straightforward connection from base Excel formulas into some of the more simple lambdas that we see that really alleviate a lot of simple tasks, such as separating column and rows from a cell reference, letter directions, alphabets. I think a lot of the base ones that allow for more straightforward problem solving. I think when lambdas sort of push into territories where banning them is what Dim demonstrated on his video with the Golden Idol. And I think from a viewing perspective, a lot of people get confused where the announcers have to say that some of the formulas that are being demonstrated on screen are not the same formulas that they are available at home. And I think the follow-up from there is that as long as there's a straight shared library where lambdas are maybe even built into the spreadsheet itself that is released for the case file, I think that would be the most happy medium there. But for these very specified lambdas, that's when things get a little bit on the closer to the AI assistance side of the discussion, which, as we know, AI is no longer allowed as supporting for the competition. But that's my perspective.
I can see people ready to jump in.
Can I counterpoint if you're...
Feel free.
Okay. So I'll try and cover some of your points there with the counter argument. So I think the people on Dim's video to start, I don't think they necessarily know what lambdas are, but they don't like the idea of a pre-solved question. So we're not really talking about banning lambdas. What we're talking about is banning pre-solving of questions, which would make sense. And I think the misconception in those videos is that this is what was happening, which is not necessarily the case. So there are many ways to do pre-preparation and pre-solving. So lambdas is one. You could convert them to lets. And then you have Eric Ashton. He actually writes a lot of them in VBA. So he has a Dijkstra's and a reverse search and all that stuff. But it's a subroutine in VBA. So at that point, you can't really ban lambdas. If the goal is to ban pre-preparation, you have to take all of that off the table. So you can do that. And then I could, like I said, copy lets, or I could remove the let A be this, and then, manipulate that let to something that works. Might take a little bit longer, but it's still probably going to be an advantage. At that point, it's really hard to mandate it. So let's say someone comes in, say there's another dim out there that's an absolute killer. And there are people out there like Owen Price and others that could do crazy Excel things that don't compete. Say they go, oh, I've got an idea. I'm actually going to compete this year. They come in, they write really complicated lets and lambdas on the fly. And I think we're all fine with lambdas in case live. The organizers then have to go, did he pre-prepare this or not? And at that point, it comes down to judgment and not fact. So you get people that could be banned in error, or, people cheating that don't get banned. So you get the opposite. So at that point, you have to solve that problem. So you then say, okay, how do we solve this? Well, we could do video recording. So FMWC team hires 5 more people to video record, and then say, oh, by the way, we've banned lambdas, or we've banned pre-preparation, but we've hired five new people, so all of your costs are doubled this year. And then they have to go and watch those videos, and so on and so on. So obviously that's just unfeasible, right? It's unfeasible to stop pre-preparation. The second point about viewability, as we just saw from the German chapter formulas, can anyone read that doesn't speak German? No. And it's the same at Vegas. I saw German, French formulas. I'm looking at it. I don't have a clue what's going on. And a really long formula, or even a short formula, for someone that's a viewer that isn't good at Excel, it's going to be very hard to debug and read that. They might understand an XLOOKUP part of it or something like that, but they're not going to read the formula and know what's going on. When I see a lambda that says draw maze path, someone types it, presses enter, and I see a nice maze draw out, I go, oh, I know exactly what that does. The context some of the new viewers probably don't have is the back end of, oh, they've coded that formula themselves, or appreciation of the work that goes into that. And I think that is an Excel skill. But yes, that's a lot of points so far, so I'll stop there and let open up to the rest of the panel before I say anything else.
Yeah, just a note about the pre-preparation. I actually completely agree with your point about it being a conundrum about, at what point does pre-preparation verge on, this idea if we do want to ban lambdas and you point out screen recording of some kind. I know Lorenzo and I and other people have these sheets that have the data table properly set up. Are we going to talk about possibly even banning that form of pre-preparation if we're talking about banning lambdas? So I completely agree on that aspect. I just really like the idea, and I was thinking the same thing with the AI aspect of it, of, we don't necessarily need to hire 5 video editors for the screen recording of people through there. I think allowing a lot of freedom during the road to Las Vegas, but once it comes down to the live solves in front of the stage, that's when I think, a little bit more of a crackdown where it's a little bit more difficult to, get away with, copying in lambdas and lets from other worksheets, VBA files. I think that's where allowing the raw puzzle solving skills with Excel's capabilities can really shine there. That's my perspective.
Can I ask a clarifying question? What are we talking about? What are we trying to stop or
solving
not stop?
For.
So actually not having too much edge in terms of competitors, making it easier for new entrants to compete and feel they have a chance. We're actually working for watchability, if that's a word for the audience. What's the main issue in your opinion?
I think from me, it comes down to the case writing perspective as well as the, I guess, leveling the playing field on the competition side as well. I think I really like to see solutions that can be using as many Excel-based formulas as possible. I think that's just really interesting to work from that side of things as a problem-solving aspect. And additionally, the ability to really, I guess, level the playing field would probably be that from my perspective.
Yeah, I think from the I think you're right that the thing that got me thinking about it recently was the fact that so many people's reaction to seeing hey, this is how I won the final, and part one of that is here are some of the lambdas that I used, and I think a lot of people's reaction to that was what the fuck, you don't use the same Excel as everybody else in the final? How is that a fair competition? Which it's not wrong. I think there is something to the idea that shouldn't you all just walk out onto the field with your minds and nothing else and go from there. I think there is something desirable about that in terms of the basis on which you want people to compete. Both not a bad thing in and of itself, and also not a bad thing from a kind of viewer engagement perspective. I'm not that big on the kind of mass market ability to follow. I think I'm one of the better players. I find it very hard to follow when you get 5 seconds on this person's screen, where they might not even be in the cell with the relevant formula active in the formula bar, where the formula bar might be cut off on top by some MEWC doodad or something, or where they might be on a giant screen where their formula bar is this teeny tiny size font or whatever. It's hard to follow at the best of times, and considering how big it is already, if you're trying to grow it from this to 10 times bigger, what you're adding at the margin is people who have just, you're using something that's not sum or countif, and that you've lost them. I'm very aware that even, I do lambda free, robot free solves reasonably regularly for MECC cases, local chapter cases a lot of the time. And let's just say there's a big difference between lambda free solve or robot free solve and simple solve. Not at all the same thing. And I don't think we'll ever get to a place, I'm not even sure it's desirable to get to a place where I mean, you know, I'm imagining like a debating competition where you could only use, you know, third grade level English or something. Like nobody wants that. And I don't think anybody wants an Excel competition where you can only use sum and count, because then everybody will be able to understand the formulas. And even then you'd have to use such a weird structure to make that formula work that they still wouldn't understand it. That's not, I don't think you achieve like the ability for the crowd to follow the specific things people are doing either way, unless the commentators can actually hold their hands and guide them through it. And even then, that's usually going to be quite high level. Like, oh yeah, you can see that this person is using a biro, so they're going to operate on each row here, and they're trying to figure out how many times this thing occurs, whatever it is.
Yeah, but provocative question: do we think that actually seeing a choose calls of sequence of len of matrix going -1 step is actually more watchable than reverse matrix lambda? Because I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Also from a viewer standpoint.
Depends on the viewer. If you're talking general public, the lambda's more, they can understand what it's doing if it's named in plain English. But for an Excel viewer, there's some fun in trying to decode in your head what a formula is doing rather than a lambda, I suppose. So it depends on the viewer. But
I think it's not really followable live for anybody. I think there's something to be said for, if you don't use any lambdas, then somebody who actually wants to learn from it and like stops the video, writes that whole formula again, you know, reconstructs the setup, would be able to get that to work on their home Excel. And I have definitely heard people say, like, wait, you know, you use this function that doesn't exist in my Excel. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't exist in anybody's Excel except mine. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know.
If we're on, if we're on the topic of watchability, I think a lot of it does come down to the commentators, like you said. When I watch something like chess, you know, they'll spill out a chessboard and it will have arrows on and say, oh, this is where the piece could move, and then it results in this line, and then the viewer that's not a chess grandmaster can understand what's going on. With Excel, it would be really nice to have the commentators go, and it might have to be in an intermission or something, right? But go, here's question 1 of the case. This is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to look from one table to another, not solve the question with formulas, but explain logically what you have to do. I mean, when we all look at an Excel question, it will say, you know, like I did, what was it? Excel gram or whatever. Look at the followers to the followers, and, you know, the commentators could say one way is to structure the data in a more clean format. One way is this, one way is that. And then when the viewer sees it, they can go, oh, they're structuring the data more nicely. And I think that leads better to watchability than banning lambdas. And whenever I think about the ban lambdas discussion and ask why, it leads me down to a different question and a different solution.
Yeah, I agree 100% with James' comment, to be honest. It's very hard to follow what's happening during a live stream. So the second comment is walkthroughs are the best place to actually learn something, not the live stream. So agree.
But I think something to just in terms of what's desirable for where the competition goes, you know, medium, long term, a couple of things. One is like, I mean, I think where you feel it most is with mazes, right? Because they're like very, very kind of slow and fiddly to do by kind of quote unquote traditional. Even calling it traditional means like this was revolutionary stuff 10 years ago to just solve a maze with circular references. But anyway, traditional means is like slow and fiddly, and a good flexible lambda. Like, I think there's only a handful of people right now who have very good, very flexible maze lambdas, but you know, follow the trend. Like 2 years ago, barely anybody had lambdas at all. I had like 7. But you know, follow the trend to where that's going. I think it would be very easy to end up in a place where a couple of things. One, where you either you have to choose with a maze case between either set a case that is just impossibly hard to do in the time without a pile of lambdas, or that people with good flexible lambdas are going to blow away in half the time. There's just no way to kind of close. Like I know people talk about kind of format innovations, like Kobe added portals, pipes is a connect, but like I think we're kind of pretty close to how far those format innovations can go, because if you make it general enough, a maze is just connecting nodes in a network, and portals are just add a couple more nodes, pipes are just close off some nodes. I think once you get to the stage where I expect before the end of the year, I will have a maze Lambda that can solve kind of any network case, that can ingest and understand maps pretty quickly. And once you've got to that, there's no going back. And I think at that point, either the category is dead or you give up on people who don't have very heavy Lambdas. And I think neither of those is a desirable outcome. But the other thing is, even with the kind of escalation and how much better everyone bring it, Kobe, bring it. Even with all the escalation and how much better people have gotten and so on, like, being at the cutting edge is a major time investment. And I think if it got to the stage where the only way that you could seriously compete to win was having a cutting edge Lambda set, which I think is a pretty plausible place for us to be within 12 or maybe 24 months. And the only way to get to that cutting edge is to invest, I don't know, like the equivalent of a half-time job or something in working on your Lambda set. To me, that's not a desirable outcome. Like I think it would be good if the competition were open to people who are like crazy talented in Excel, invest some time and effort into it. You'll never be able to just walk in and win, and kind of convert from there. I think something like, AHA going from like never done this before to, UK champion and 5th in the world, becomes less likely if you go kind of further down that road.
I know you highlighted, but I really like what Colby said about case authors being cognitive of the Lambda landscape, and that they need to be aware not to reuse mechanics that have been done before. Because I even recognize that, just not even as a Lambda user, but 2 years ago when I first started in doing practice cases, where I would see a problem, it's like, oh, this is like just somewhat identical to the one I just did, and then I can just pull up previous work and adapt it. And I think especially when it comes to maze cases and the idea of just having flexible Lambdas, it's really important for case authors to really push the boundaries and adapt it in a way where it's not overly difficult, but also break the format a little bit and just understand, allow people to be more creative, basically.
I will say, having just gone through the case writing process, the job of writing a case is tricky to begin with. Just like write something that is fun, creative, interesting, innovative. And if you add on top of that, and resistant to all known strains of Lambda,
it's a lot of pressure on the case authors.
It's a real, needle to try to thread as a case author, especially when, if you're not, following all the Lambda group chat and Bo's channel and Hayden's channel and whatever, like it's hard to even know where the cutting edge is unless you're really working on it.
Yeah, and I think it mostly comes down to just presenting a creative problem, and I don't worry about Lambdas when it comes to stuff that I'm writing. I just try to write something where I think of a creative challenge, and it's just like, well, I would like to see different people approach it this way. And if I can solve, I always solve mine in base Excel. I don't use any Lambdas, so that's sort of my baseline. Sometimes I need help for that, but I think allowing that, because problem solving from a player's perspective is almost as creative as the person writing the case, and I think that's my ultimate goal when it comes to presenting challenges to others, rather than Lambda defensiveness.
Although I've said I'm against the Lambda ban, I would love to see a category of no Lambdas, but only live, because it's only really feasible live because of those cheating aspects. So that would be interesting, but it would need to be a bolt on, a one case or 2 cases are a no Lambda category, if you like, in the European Open. Maybe they'll test it there. That could be interesting. But yeah,
they've talked about like format experiments at the European Open. I think it would be like just in general, I feel like they've got very rigid about the format. I think with a view to making it predictable and whatever for new people. But I love the idea that they'll just try a bunch of totally new things. Like maybe it'll be no lambdas, maybe it'll be you can only use functions that start with the letter L or whatever. Like there's so much more you could do than just there will always be 7 levels, there will always be 20 questions each level, there will always be 5 bonuses, there will always be green background color for the answer. Like there's a lot more you could do.
I think you
Oh yeah, that would be.
Julia will thrive in that universe.
Yes. But even then, so Tim talked about that the preparation is like, and you have to put a lot of time into preparing your lambdas. But even then, it's not enough. And as long as the cases are not like copies of former cases, it will not be enough to compete. So I have like more than 300 lambdas. I think other competitors also have similar amounts, and I've not have seen anyone winning only because of lambdas. Does it help to win or get an edge? Yes, of course, but otherwise, the person with the largest collection should win, and I've not seen that. And I also try to make my lambdas adaptable for all scenarios and so on and so on. But there might be always something new. For example, a arrow case for MACC 2024. I had like lambdas working also with boundaries, but then they implemented a new boundary rule, so to say. So if you touch a boundary, you go into that direction, but only into one direction and do not stop. My lambda wasn't able to handle this, and it took me so freaking long to know what was wrong because I wasn't thinking of that. So will you have someone who has lambdas for everything? I highly doubt it.
Sometimes they can kill you, like on VStack command. My lambda backfired massively. If I didn't know lambdas, I would have got through because I would have done the circular reference method. So it's but that side of the coin is much less often right. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, I will say both VStack Man and Lucky Tour were like, hey, let's put a twist on the whole maze thing, and like I didn't crush either of them, and I wouldn't say I was like fully ready for it, but like I have a network maze solver that's just you give it a list of from, to, and optionally cost, and so I had to do the like converting the maze into a list of connections more or less by hand, but that that could easily be its own lambda. But like once I had that, then
but was that quicker to write out all those connections than do the circular reference method? Probably not. So the lambda probably not, cost you.
But that's because I had to like hand spin that part. But I think it would be pretty easy to write a lambda that would convert a maze into a list of connections from which you could then say, okay, filter by pipes or add in this or whatever. So this is what I mean. Is like I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think we are moving rapidly toward a point where any maze that is not unfeasibly complicated to explain or convoluted will be pretty automatable.
Controversial take that even though those dead mazes like Bear Island maze are just solvable in seconds now, I still think they should feature sometimes, because otherwise beginners will just never see it, never learn it, and go through the progressions like I did. That was learn how it works, see the circular reference method, learn how to broadcast that across, and then a lambda. Although it would be dead for maybe 200 people, that's fine. There's a competition down here, a competition here, and a competition at the top. Fine, we all get 100% of the points, and the competition's decided on other questions. That's my take on that.
Yeah, to answer Jack,
and how about
I think a bit yes, to be honest. So a complete ban of lambdas would be too much. Probably the middle ground would be to give a set of predefined lambdas within the case that everyone can use. but still, how do you manage that? It's a mess. Logistically speaking, it's
impossible.
Yeah, it's very hard to implement. So
I mean, I think the middle ground, more or less, that was also suggested a few times, and maybe would be like to have like the top X people have to share them, including the descriptions with FNWC, and they share them with everybody. I mean, of course, mine would be horrible. Peter told me that I decrypt my lambdas because I mix German and English sometimes within variable names when writing my lambdas. But of course, if you like kind of had to submit your entire lambda set, if you are in the top 10, top 20, or top 100 or whatever in the competition, and include a English description to it, then nobody or like the cutting edge difficulty would be something different, and everybody could just pick out their style of lambda, so we don't have like this, what was suggested a few times already, have like a standard MEWC lambda library, because as Julian loves to point out, everybody has a different style, and different kind of sets, or some people go for options or variables, and some go for a different lambda for everything.
How about all finalists' files are publicly available? Because the finals case is always available. Origami, World of Warcraft, why not have the solution files, 12 different people's files publicly available? I think they do that in coding. And then people can look through, decode, and get new ideas, and it pushes the boundary further.
I think the idea of like publishing solution files rather than publishing Lambda collections is a much better idea, because then you see them in action. Like, how was this actually used to achieve an outcome? I think you learn a lot more. That, like, there's a lot of people have shared Lambda collections in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah. You already have them.
Many. I went through yours. I attempted to go through yours, through Julian's, and like, I've got a lot of patience for doing Excel stuff, but it was too much work to try to figure out what was going on. Whereas, if it was like, wait, this person like kicked butt on this one particular kind of case, level 7 was really hard for me. How did they do it? Oh, they had a Lambda that handled that really nicely. How does that behave? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I think if you shared files, it would be a lot more intelligible. And it would also mean that, nobody could get a sort of persistent edge. Like, if you invest a bunch of time and effort to come up with a cool new Lambda and you win a round because of that, great, good for you. But now everybody's seen that Lambda, and you won't get, you won't win all the rounds, or like all the maze rounds or whatever because of that, which is good. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even, for me, I wouldn't just do that in the finals. I think it would be great if, like, when they send out, like, hey, here's the case file with the answers, and here's, I don't know, the top 3 people, the top 3 scorers' actual solution files. I think that'd be
winning solution file. That would be awesome, and it would give us a lot more excitement.
They already have the files, so it would not be like a different set that they kind of have to take the files from people. You already upload them. So.
Guys, apologies, I'm going to have to bail, but just, assume that I'm saying irresponsible influencer things for the rest of the conversation. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Lorenzo.
Bye, Dave.
Yeah,
but let me be provocative, because, and don't get me wrong, I'm talking as someone who share basically everything in terms of case solving, lambdas, whatever. Prize pool is now 20K for the winner.
I'm waiting for your collection, Lorenzo.
That's true. Prize pool is now 20K. Let's assume it goes up to 200K. Do you think people is still gonna be so willing to share everything, including lambda solutions, whatever? So the democracy is going to stop at some point, or we're gonna be forever
unless
sharing
you share the winning files, and then at that point everyone goes, well, it's going to get shared anyway, so I might as well share it up front. Maybe they'll work on something.
But is it fair to share the winning files of someone who invested a lot of time to actually win the competition? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sharing everything, so it's just a provocative question.
Not necessarily. I don't think anything is fair in sports. Like, my PC here is basically a supercomputer that I put together only for Excel. So the PC I had before this, when I ran the data table on Volcano Island for the final bonus, it took like 5 minutes to run. Now it will do it in like 30 seconds. So I have a 4.5 minute advantage over someone. Is that fair? Or maybe a 10 times advantage if someone can't find a more efficient formula. My old PC wasn't bad. You know, that's the point is nothing is really fair. I could use an MMO mouse and have loads of shortcuts on the side. So
yeah, but that's my point. You invested time, resources, and effort to actually be better to some extent. So if someone comes and say, okay, now everyone needs to have your lambdas and whatever.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's it doesn't bother me either way, to be honest. I'm happy for people to keep them private and have secret collections, and I'll build them. I'll happily share mine. Some people won't. I think that's fine. There's nothing, like I said, there's nothing fair in sports, and it's one of the, you know, to Dim's point about having to spend half, you know, basically a part-time job writing lambdas and training Excel. Well, if the prize money starts to go up that much that all the finalists are basically earning a salary, that's how it is in other professional sports. They spend not a part-time job, a full-time job, just doing that sport. Why can't this be as professional as that, where people spend a full time doing it or more if they want to? I don't see anything wrong with it.
I think Dim winning demonstrates that you can share all of your knowledge to the world and still come out on top. You're not getting an edge. And I think the same's true in a lot of other competitive sports. Just throwing poker out there, a lot of the best poker players do put their knowledge out to the world. They have courses and a lot of free content, and they still demonstrate that someone who's truly the best is unconcerned with other people learning their tactics because they're confident that they'll be able to still outcompete. And I really see that in Excel as well, especially with Tim winning the national or the world championship. And also just this community is also just very generous in what it provides as far as resources, knowledge, shared data, everything, that it really wouldn't be a concern.
Yeah, agree. Agree. I think there, at some point, Dim said, you don't want to get to a point where people actually putting in a lot of effort to build lambdas are gonna win the competition based on how good your lambdas are. But I'm not sure we're gonna get to that point, because I mean, there's nothing currently preventing you from spending an equivalent of a full-time job in actually preparing lambdas. And I see diminishing returns at some point, because there is risk of overfitting past cases, and you cannot really predict what is going to happen in the next ones. So I'm not sure, to be honest, this is going to give you a huge advantage. That maybe you can get lucky 1 out of 10 cases, and you have the case for which you had an inspiration or whatever. You have a lambda which is very fit for purpose for that one, but still it's probably a game of chance rather than...
I think it's borderline impossible. Like if you write a maze lambda for following arrows, for example, mine can do, you know, gliding up the walls, bouncing off the walls. But if they did some nonsense logic where the bounce doesn't follow like it would in real life, and it actually bounces back down the other diagonal, I'm screwed. I'm not going to make a lambda for every bounce combination, because they're essentially infinite, right? So it's, you can't solve everything up front. You can only generally prepare and then implement them like you would other Excel formulas. But the real challenge is the logical problem solving still.
I also agree. And regarding like the idea of lambda free competition, which was talked before, maybe a hot take, but I think it's still not a reasonable take, is I think the results would be roughly the same. I think the same people would be on the top in the lambda free competition versus the lambda competition. I don't think a Dim would be worse or better. Same for Andrew, Michael, Jean, etc. I think the same top people would win both competitions.
I hope we see it one day as, like I said, as a live event, just so we can then have the confirmation of whether it's more watchable, less watchable, whether the cases can be as interesting. I'm not sure cases can be as maybe complex or visually entertaining if they're not. Depends Depends on the author, I guess. But
I think for most of the cases, I think Julian in his LAMBDA discussion video pointed this out. For most cases, it simply does make a difference of a maximum of 1 minute, because you simply have to write the mid-sequence len part out each time, which for some cases, this is the only thing that makes a difference, whereas other cases, it's different.
Yeah, I think I also went through all the cases that are currently available in the shop, and I said, okay, here I've used like 1 lambda, there I've used like a lot of lambdas, but it was only a small fraction where lambdas really makes the difference, and that's only for map and maze cases. And also another hot take from my side: is it really an issue if we get away from the maze cases or map cases that are about the maze, but then about something else, like some different, that the maze or solving a maze is like splitting a text for us in the future, and we then concentrate on something else implemented there, so some weird game techniques or something else? Would this be bad? I don't think, for me, I don't know, I don't think so. So if you have then different things to concentrate on.
Yeah, you could do things like lava on the floor changes the rules of where you do the steps and so on and so on. And I know some lambdas could help with that, but there can always be new logic to implement. So other cases killed by lambdas, yeah. Similar to...
I don't think so, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
You can always come up with variations. So
yeah, I did an exercise, not exercise, but I did basically every case from 2023, the main Road to Las Vegas and final ones up to before Vegas. And I was writing them in a spreadsheet with a column for, can I make a lambda that makes this quicker? And there was maybe 2 extra lambdas that I made, but all the cases took me the full half an hour a lot of the time or more. So it's surprising that going through all those cases, there isn't more general lambdas I could make that would pre-solve them. And they're still going to take half an hour with or without. So I think...
Yeah, and also if you make one that pre-solves the case, by definition, it's not going to solve a future case.
It wouldn't solve any others.
Exactly the same of a past one. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're in any danger of dead questions just yet. But obviously we can reevaluate if we ever get to that point.
I really hope from a case writing perspective, the solution to if people believe lambdas are a problem is not to, like Hayden suggested, like what if you just had the bounce go in a nonsensical direction. That I think is just unfun for both the person who has to solve it normally and also the person who has the lambda up front anyway. I think that's really where you lose both sides there.
Well, if you made the lambda well constructed and laid out clearly like coding would be, you could change some of the parameters in there on the fly.
Yeah,
find it quite interesting.
But
to
at
see
that
someone
point, if
open
you're
their lambda do it.
Yeah, if you're using it from a shared pool, like you'd have to really understand all the lambdas that you're working with. You'd almost have to basically just be the person writing it rather than...
Yeah, that's the time investment piece, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't think cases like that should ever be Road to Las Vegas cases. I think they should be reserved for late knockout round Vegas type cases, because it's just, yeah, not.
I mean, a different question. If you say reserved for later rounds, like, I mean, it's a completely different discussion. But do you think that the cases for Las Vegas should be roughly the same difficulty style as Road to Las Vegas cases, or do you think they should be different? Like, I mean, I think last year there were 2025, so last season there were like the same difficulty, I would say, but the years before they tended to increase the difficulty a lot.
You mean in quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals?
Yeah, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. I think last year was like the better way to have like the same roughly difficulty and don't have some like weird experiment and enormous increase in difficulty.
It's a really hard one, isn't it? I don't know if it's better to just have a consistent difficulty but more lambda stuff later, because you need to separate the field, but even if the cases are relatively easy, it will still be separated on time. And efficiency of formulas is a big, Excel skill. And I like I said earlier, I do like to see some full solutions in the finals on stage. So I don't think the finals should necessarily be so hard that 600 points is the top. But yeah,
I would probably not make them as easy as for example, I don't know, the treasure hunt or whatever case has been solved in 10 to 15 minutes. But yeah, I agree that having a good distribution of scores ranging from full score in 30 minutes to less than that in whatever time is required is a good balance. And if you can have also something which is great on screen, like for example Harry K's on the puzzle one, basically, that's great, because it makes immediately recognizable by the audience when you actually doing stuff correct, and also looks great on screen. So yeah, agree, to be honest, on the difficulty level.
I think high variance in the difficulty levels throughout the season is good, just to add more variety. I don't think the Las Vegas finals, semi and quarter have to be strictly harder, but I do think within them, like, some variety. And there'll always be cases where people will feel like, wow, if only I was in that side of things, if only I was in the evening pool of the bracket, I would have an easier time. I think that'll always be the case, but I do like the variance of it all.
Yeah, I think you're right. Variability is key. We wouldn't have stuff like the simple case or Excelopolis or whatever if we didn't have difficulty, and those are the ones that teach you the most, and then we find efficient, nice solutions and all level up. So yeah, variability is the way.
I've never touched a simple case ever again since then. And I just pray to myself, nothing. Really, I've never touched it after the competition.
You should probably go and try and do it in Python, just in case a question ever comes up.
I know
like that
a
again,
few things about Python, so I might be able to do it in Python if it ever comes up, but I just pray that it doesn't come up, because all of you are prepared and I'm not.
That's a great question.
I have a LAMBDA for
that. That's a very hard question.
Go around and answer it each.
Can I answer, like, which is not a LAMBDA, by the way, but import LAMBDAs might be my LAMBDAs? Yeah, it's very hard. I will probably go with I don't know, maybe my splitter, just because it's the one I use the most, to be honest. I will need to think about it more, to be honest.
I mean, I think the big question is here, do you want to go with something that you use extremely often, like the split, but you could write it out, but every time you use it, it saves you only like 5 seconds of time? Or do you want to go with something more crazier with like move or maze kind of things, which doesn't come up that often, but I would probably go with something in that direction, like my move number, for example, to keep this, to have like something that if it comes up, which still comes up a lot of times, it helps you a lot, or makes it a lot faster.
Yeah, basically you're saying you will probably prioritize a big impact LAMBDA which comes up with a probability of, I don't know, 1%, 5%, as opposed to having a low profile LAMBDA which comes up a lot of times. So 80% of the time you're gonna use it. I would probably still go for the second one, to be honest.
I would go for my arrow movement one, because I feel like arrow maps are harder than the maze ones, because there's more variability you can do, like the wolves question that Dim had. They seem to come up basically every other case. And when you spell out like row and column movements and manually type, 1+1, I've made mistakes doing that before and got questions wrong. So I really don't want to be having to write out a full arrows table every time. And then, row difference, column difference, that's a long formula to write, and it comes up so often. So I think that would be my one.
Julia, Grant?
I actually deleted all my LAMBDAs from my solver sheet going into the season, just to start fresh, because it just was cluttered by everyone else's collections, and I truly did not have a proper understanding of anything individually in particular. So I'm starting fresh, but what I do really find the most useful and what I would probably want to keep is just anything that can isolate row and column from a cell reference. I think those are my favorite.
Yeah, I would also say so, also with Benny's thoughts in mind. I would also say maybe I have something that is pulling out like the row and the column number in like a 2-step array of an cell reference. I think that might be the most useful, especially if you say, okay, I have then the version that is non-volatile, because this might keep away a lot of volatility, and you can then do like distance calculations very easily and with very low compute power needed. So something like that, but it's hard.
I just looked at my Lambda collection, and my move Lambda, or my Airy move Lambda, is also the one that has like the most optional parameters with 9. So it's the most flexible one, so I have to pick this.
Yeah, but also on this point, and also going back to Grant's point before, on actually you need to understand and also remember how your lambdas are implemented. I mean, the more lambdas you have, the more this becomes a challenge, because I think I've written 80%, if not 90% of my lambdas, and the rest of them I've copied from existing ones, but still actually reverse engineering them in full and understanding them. But sometimes I just don't remember how the implementation is behind the hood. So
same. And I
it's
have
it's a lot of
lambdas.
work to do that, to keep yourself fresh with implementation and be ready to on the fly review the lambda. I think it's very hard, so it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, when I have a change to one of mine, like my row number or column number, because that's inside all the other map ones, I think, I'm going to have to go and fix like 10 lambdas now. And that's, also why you can't mix and match different sets. So you have to really understand them and make them work together.
Yeah, same for me. I think I have like almost all of them I've written by myself. I think there are like a few small examples per comp, B-row and stuff like that. But also I stole the Dijkstra Lambda from Julian, and I'm currently in the process of stealing the map Lambda from Hayden, but I have it in my collection. But I only understand like the first 4 parameters, and it has like 7.
It's very easy to mess up if you use the custom like arguments at the end, but I don't think you'll ever need to use them. That's only for stuff like tree climber or anything that's extremely like custom. But it should be able to do anything if you understand it.
And if you are, let's say, focused enough during the competition.
I mess it up all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. It's so flexible, but also so hard to use that I'm not sure. With the tunnel vision you get during the competition, it's I will not be comfortable with having that level of flexibility.
If I open Tree Climber now, I wouldn't be able to do it in half an hour probably, because it would break like 5 times, and I'd be like, hang on, how does this work? How do I? Because I have to like map it so it spills a grid, rather than like if I use min or max or anything that collapses it breaks. So it's tricky, and it's one that needs constant like practice. So I have to practice it if I ever think I'm going to need to use it.
Grant,
that's the issue with.
Yeah, go ahead, Julian. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the issue with like huge collections. Even if you have like a lot of lambdas you've written yourself, even then you have to properly know what is the input I need there. Therefore, I'm, for example, using like, okay, this number means this number means this, even if then the function arguments is like 20, 30 letters long, and also the name. So if you have a lot of lambdas, you have to actually remember them. And I think the most efficient way to remember them is write what they do. So I'm also typing, I have a lambda for that. Let's type what it should do. And then I'm casually finding it. But I also saw one collection with like 3 or 4 or like 200 lambdas where there were like 2 or 3 letter meanings of what the lambda does. So that person actually have to remind every one of his lambda and what letters he has to type in, which is like incredible. So I on the way to the finals 2024, I had like cards on my phone, and I trained the names of my lambdas to remember them in the competition then. So they actually have to train your lambda names and to train your lambda adoption and your lambda usage. So it's also another part making the competition more interesting.
It's the same as training any Excel formula. You need to know the inputs, you need to know how they behave with arrays, with single cells, and so on and so on.
The comment from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's to me is like you're occupying some memory in your brain for no specific reason. So it's a mental overload of information you need to keep in your short-term memory. So not sure that's a great idea, but that's my personal opinion to be honest. But Grant, I'm curious because at the beginning we spoke about your commitment this season in Wright, a lot of cases actually. So do you have something specific in mind also Lambda wise to try to break some of the Lambdas, or is just a creative spark you wanna channel into case creation?
Yeah, so I don't consider lambdas at any point in the case creation process. I do try to just think of just unique challenges, and if somebody has a lambda that makes it simpler, there's definitely going to be the micro lambdas that will solve simpler things along the way. I just released one that's basically just a data table one of restaurants, and that one I think you could do it with lambdas, you could do it without, and I just like to think of interesting challenges and go about it from there, really, because the lambdas that I like I said, I deleted all my lambda collection, and I'm going to start from scratch eventually, but right now I'm just mostly focusing on just the raw problem solving skills within Excel and then going from there. And that's where I really think case writing is done best.
Are you submitting many of these cases to the MEWC, or you? I
did one, the most recent one that I submitted. I have one that's like basically 90% done, and I'm probably going to submit that one as well. I don't really know what else to do with them because I would like to actually see them used in a competition capacity. So I am. I'd like to see more people taking a stab at the problems that I am putting out there, because I really enjoy the creation process of it, because it is a creative outlet in a way. So, yeah.
I imagine they're going to need a lot of cases this year. I don't know how many are going to be in European Open.
Yeah, for sure. There's like 6 international chapters now, 5 or 6. So, and then
we definitely reach escape velocity. So I'm very happy about that. But was Papa Lorenzo Pizzeria actually dedicated to my Italian heritage, or is Papa Lorenzo?
Well, the game itself is Papa Louis Pizzeria. So when I had the idea for the case, it was just no doubt in my mind it would be Papa Lorenzo there. So of course it would be to your Italian heritage, and I didn't want to put there's an AI image of you going around frowning over a pineapple pizza in the WhatsApp group somewhere. I thought about throwing it in there, but I was like, yeah, I'll just keep it name only and go from there.
Yeah, at some point, I'm not sure how we can do that, but I really need to have you taste the real Italian pizza. But we need to understand how to do that. Also, because it's not something you can actually cook like pasta, because it's very hard to actually do it properly. You need actually the correct process for the, I don't know how to say that in English, but you get the point. The pasta in which you put the tomato sauce and mozzarella. You also need the oven, particular one, so it's super complicated. I should invite all of you to Italy, to a great place, and have a pizza there. It's easier.
Maybe we campaign for European Open to rotate to Italy next year.
That would be phenomenal, actually.
Just for the pizza.
I would actually have probably also a venue in Milan, because there is a place where they let you play esports, so it's not super big. It's probably similar to the Leipzig one, Benny, a bit bigger. And there were rumors about the biggest European sports arena being built outside Milan, but it's just like a project on a PowerPoint presentation, so nothing has been done so far. So yeah, let's watch the situation. And maybe, who knows, the Italian chapter might at some point start. So no, I'm not saying anything about that. So it's just
the regular Italian building skills. Thinking of the Olympic hockey arena, which I think I don't know if it's yet finished, and the Olympic game starts in 1 week. But
OA Robot, is that off the table if lambdas go as well? Because I feel like OA Robot's huge advantage.
I mean,
No,
if
Ashley,
you're
please don't do that. I'm I'm a bit afraid of this one.
I can
so-
help on that one. Ashley, I will help on that one. I have a few ideas.
I agree with everything it says.
I mean, yeah, the thing is, if you would ban lambdas, as discussed, it wouldn't make sense to just ban lambdas. You would need to ban pre-prepared things if you would ban anything, and
There'd be
this
no
would
add-ons.
of course
You
include
cannot do that.
oil robot, pre-prepared robots. This is specifically look at my name, Pro Lambdas. Don't ban them. Don't ban oil robot. And maybe, of course, it wouldn't include like oil robot generate lambda statement, because this would then not come into or like the pre-defined oil robot stuff. Maybe that would then be excluded, but I don't see a reason why this should then be excluded if we ban all.
Yeah,
You know what will be very cool? Actually, totally unfeasible to do that. So it's just let's say an idea. But like in F1, are you into F1 at all? You like develop the car for the next season beforehand, and then you have a limited amount of changes you can do to the car. So it's like you need to prepare your lambdas before the season starts. Then you commit those lambdas, you freeze the development, and you can actually make some small tweaks between the battles, and you have like predefined windows to submit your changes. So that would be really cool, but actually totally unfeasible from
I don't think
for 1 second I thought you would suggest something like DIS, where you could, during the battle, like you have 5 minutes and that you can use.
They actually removed DRS for this season in F1. They now have the overtake mode. So yeah, but it's very similar.
Or only if you are within 100 points of the next person in Vegas, you're allowed to use lambdas for the next 5 minutes.
I don't think it will ever get there, but if the money is big enough, people end up getting big teams behind them. So I can imagine a team of like LAMBDA builders, like Lorenzo's LAMBDA building team, and they're building stuff all the way up to comp for you and working with you.
I mean, in chess you have that because, for example, the big grandmasters do chess training camps before the big tournaments. So like Magnus Carlsen, who is the world #1, has a team of grandmasters. So it's actually, I don't know, Dim having a team of us building lambdas for him, actually analyzing games, coming up with strategies. So that would be insane. Imagine like a Barney Clippy, but done before the season, in which you train for the season. Reminds me a bit of, for example, the days before Vegas, actually in Vegas, sorry, when we were in the arena, actually training last minute to build lambdas. That was a really cool moment. So yeah, it would be super cool actually to do that.
Yeah, in any solo sports, when there's enough money to pay a team, there's always a team of, you know, nutrition, whatever it is. And another thing about when money gets big is it's always shocking, like the extent people will go to cheat. Coming back to the first conversation about, you know, using VBA for your lambdas and stuff. It's like in Olympic weightlifting, you know, the guys have 24 hours to weigh into their weight class.
Yeah,
so they drop weight before. But they actually have doctors that will draw out as much of their blood as they can into a bag to reduce their weight by like however many kilos, 2 kilos, 1 kilos. God. And then they get on the scales, weigh in, and then they inject the blood back into them to recuperate their body weight. That's
that sounds a bit extreme.
will go to. And that's people that know they're not going to win. They just want 5th place because the money's good enough. You know, I know this is a completely different sport, but the people... If you do ban anything, people will cheat badly, and especially if money is good. If money was $1 million, people will use AI just to get through the rounds at home, just for a chance at the final.
I mean, I think Olympic weightlifting is like one of the most extreme examples of any sport in the. But I'm pretty interested in like Olympics and sports in general. But once I looked at the Olympic Games weightlifting like entry list and saw like their nations banned because they had like 20 or more doping cases for just this one country in the last 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, they've been removed from the Olympics like 3 times and managed to get their way back in. It's insane. They basically all do it. They have designer compounds where they have chemists that are making like one more carbon chain to make something that's undetectable but still sort of does the same thing, but it's way more dangerous because they don't know actually how it will impact them. They just know it's a
Totally untested, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But they'll go to any extreme. So that's PvP sports for you.
But Eddie, are you still competing in powerlifting, or
I haven't done it for since I had the baby. Baby's like 20 months old now. I have a gym in the garage, so I still train a bit, but I haven't done any competitions for a while. But yeah, it's an interesting world. I guess I met a lot of the bigger names like Thor, the strongman, and stuff like that. So yeah, now Excel is my thing, but I do want to get back into lifting a bit more because I'm becoming a blob as I get older as well.
Wow, guys, super cool. 1 hour 40 minutes in. Do you want to add something to this amazing conversation? I think we covered a lot of topics, to be honest. So I had a lot of fun. We actually found some consensus around not banning lambdas, I think, at least not fully. So it will be cool to see what the developments will be. I mean, they already removed the restriction for the lambdas for the rising star category, so that's a very strong signal, I guess.
Yeah, I think the whole lambda topic, there was many branches of viewability, helping beginners and stuff like that. So I think the conclusion we came to is that there's probably other questions to be answered that help those things. And I personally think those need to be given a bit more light and attention than lambdas, or at least the same attention, so that we can achieve those things, because those things will be way better for us than this lambda discussion.
Maybe I'm out of the loop, but what was the rising star discussion with lambdas? Was there like a talk of banning lambdas?
No, they did ban them, but they changed the rules a week before. So originally no lambdas, and then the question.
The V1 was to qualify as a rising star. You actually you cannot use lambdas. You should be out of the, I think, the main draw from the previous year, and probably also below a certain ELO threshold. And there was a lot of debate around why do you actually need to put the lambda restriction, which was probably not needed considering the other thresholds, and they removed that pretty
quickly. You couldn't use lambdas inside formulas, so you couldn't write scan 0 array lambda, A plus V or whatever it is. You couldn't, because there's no way to mandate it. So I think they had to check it. So they just said no lambdas in the file at all, but obviously that locks you out from a lot of native formulas that use lambda helpers, biro, bicol, map, all those things. And I think they probably realized it was unfeasible. And also you were allowed to copy Let's-in or VBA copies of your lambdas. And if you were a rising star that didn't use them, you then practice for 10 months, go to Vegas and have never used a lambda, and you're like, right,
you get your ass kicked.
Speed now.
I don't think you would have qualified for Vegas. You would have only more or less qualified, or still qualify for like
the main draw.
Main draw.
Right. Okay.
So you would already get your ass kicked there.
Yeah, because I inadvertently, I wasn't even, I was out of loop on that discussion, but I technically am a rising star there, and I just think that, I still ended up deleting all my lambdas, like I said, and starting from scratch. But that's something that I wouldn't even have considered was a restriction. I'm glad they did drop it there, because even though I am no lambdas, I'm really more of just the democratization of the information, and I really think there could be some benefit of just having some MEWC approved lambdas at the very least, of just getting information out there for people to solve some of the more micro tasks, like I was talking about splitting the cell reference. So I'm glad that they did end up dropping that requirement.
Maybe an official base lambda set with just a few, split the text down to letters, that has maybe 10 really basic lambdas, and then an intermediate lambda set and an advanced lambda set that's an official published one that's static in time, just for beginners, that if they get started, they can look at it, see how they're built, use it if they want, and also build their own if they want. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, but still the engineering part of coming up with lambdas is very, very entertaining, useful. So I would probably get a bit bored without the lambdas. And Eric, we were discussing about putting like a freeze period before which you need to submit your lambdas. We could also discuss a budget cap, and when I say budget, I mean training. But I will probably disagree with that.
I mean, you can't enforce this. How do you want to enforce it?
Yeah, actually, impossible to do.
Wait, does the local chapters affect our fantasy Excel points?
That's a good question, but the group has been quite silent recently, so we're still bigger questions to be answered.
Martin's realized the scale of the task he's taken on. Like 100 Excel enthusiasts.
Yeah, he didn't realize
his servers crashed.
5 minutes after the battle, he got like 10 people coming out with different statistics and questions and whatever. So it's a massive responsibility to take. Yeah, appreciate that. Absolutely. Cool, guys. I think it was a super nice discussion. Any closing thoughts before we close this session?
Yeah, we finally had our LAMBDA discussion since we discussed it like in the group. I think since 2 years nearly, we finally had like a discussion about this in the Lorenzo Lounge. So finally made it. I think there will come up a discussion in the future, at least in 12 months or so. Again,
we can link again this video.
Yes, please. And Hayden's video about bots and maybe also mine. So all done by then.
Yeah, I guess my closing thoughts. So it was discussed a lot, but we're only 5-6 people, and other people may have good points and views.
Yeah, of course.
Counter arguments. So I think continue to discuss if it's important to people, and maybe we'll see a category at the European Open or something. Would be interesting.
Agree. All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining. Hope to have you again in the next lounges. Wishing all the best to the DACH chapter kickoff, and looking forward to see cases coming from you, Grant, and all the other case authors. And thanks again for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.